Well, let's move 11 through 20, and we'll start at 20, the Los Angeles Clippers. At 19, we have the Phoenix Suns. At 18, we have the Chicago Bulls. At 17, we have the Miami Heat. At 16, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 15, we have the Toronto Raptors. At 14, we have the Washington Wizards. At 13, we have the Los Angeles Lakers. 12, we have the Dallas Mavericks. And 11, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I know what some people are going to say if they're just coming into this part, because we're going to tag the teams, obviously. So if your team's, like the Toronto Raptors at 15, this is because of our positional rankings. We take all the rankings, add them up together, and this is how we aggregate this list. And that's the biggest one that stuck out to me. I know the Mavericks are way too high on this, in my opinion. The Suns are way too high on this. The Bulls are probably way too high on this. But the Raptors are the one that kind of sticks out to me the worst, because this was the team that was number one in the East and upgraded. They got Kawhi Leonard.
And the Wizards, too.
They got Danny Green. But the Raptors are a little bit worse, because the Wizards, I think, if you look at they're below the Wizards. They're a better team than the Raptors. Or the better team than the Wizards.
Yeah.
So, I look at the Raptors, and it's just like, how are they this low? And where did we fuck up?
It's a good question. Because, look, Lowry's great. We put him at 8. I think that's about right for his talent. I feel pretty good about that one.
ESPN had him as I think it was 20th overall in the NBA as a player. I was like, that's too high.
That seems a bit high. I think the biggest thing is, we took Danny Green and OG. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Danny Green and OG, and those two guys, had we had... I know the big thing was Danny Green's obviously a great 3-and-D player. He's aging, though, and we're kind of lowering our expectations, trending for his age. I think that makes sense. OG, if we had switched him and Serge,
and they put Fred VanVleet,
they probably would have been a little bit higher. So that's the one area where I'm like, all right, we could asterisk this one for our Raptor friends.
Well, and we didn't rank Siakam, we didn't rank VanVleet. There was a lot of guys.
Bench.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on that bench that make that team so good.
So if you could have a bench score instead of a 6-man score, the Raptors would be a much better team.
And also, again, we didn't rank, I think, Kawhi. Kawhi was 2. And he's not better than KD. But again, that was something where he was still coming off injury. We were unknown last year. And also, Nick Nurse can prove to be a fantastic coach. We put him right in the middle because we don't know what he'll do as a head coach, but we know he has extreme promise from what we've heard coming out of Toronto. And if he goes out and proves it, he's probably a top 10 coach.
Yeah, what we saw out of his offensive schemes last year, he seems to have a very good feel for the game and for how to use his talent best. So we're all hoping there's a lot of promise there.
Well, and another thing you got to think of, and if you're sitting there going, well, this team is too low, this team is there are another thing that plays into rankings too is other teams jump up, and then that knocks someone down. For example, the Lakers are above the Raptors this year. They weren't above them a year ago.
Same with the Mavericks.
Same with the Bucks. That's the reasoning, but there are other teams that jump, and if they jump ahead of you, there's only one way for your team to go in a ranking, and that's down. So, really, I look at the Raptors, and it's the two things is last year we had their guards and their power forward ranked in the top 10.
Right.
Now we only have 2. Now we have coach for that. But then also the teams around you got better ranking wise.
But also their team got better. So that's why I'm questioning. Their actual team got better than proved.
And I'm going to be completely honest, this is going to pull the wool away. The Raptors, the wool, let them see
from
behind the curtain.
It's a curtain.
The Raptors,
the wool over the eyes is another.
The
mix of analogies here.
The Raptors at 100. The point is 113 points for the Raptors. The Bucks at 120. So they could have easily been one or two people higher or lower, and could have been an 11 team. There is a margin for the margin between them is almost as close as the Western playoff standings.
Yeah, and I think the Raptors, again, if you're coming in saying, this is going to be the second best team in the East, I agree with you. So this is not really predicting where they will finish.
No.
It's just going into the season, what do we think is going to be happening? What are we, at least looking at positional-wise compared to everybody else? They could upgrade, but a big part of the Toronto Raptors is that they work as a team. I think them in a team setting is going to be fantastic.
And these rankings don't account for that.
Exactly. It doesn't account for depth. And also, not depth, but also continuity, how they're going to play together.
True.
So I think that's one thing that comes into it. The team that I think is extremely overrated, and we know why, is the Dallas Mavericks at 12. That's because of Dirk Nowitzki. His bum ass was finished
15
11
or something.
Was it 15? Was that high? Dirk was extremely
Oh
overrated.
shit, maybe it was a little higher.
Dirk
yeah.
ended up finishing at
13?
what? Can someone check
I'm
it?
bad at math right now.
He finished at 14.
Okay, so he finished at
Yeah,
14.
pretty much right
So
there.
Dirk was extremely high in our rankings. If you want to find out, watch the power forward rankings 11 through 20. If Dirk wasn't that high, we take off, I think, a couple spots away from him. I think if we put him at 20 where I thought he belongs, they dropped down to probably, 7 spots down. They jumped down below the Heat and put them at 18, which I think is much more fair for the Mavericks. So again, one overrating can absolutely screw your team or mess up your team rankings in a positive way. So the Mavericks are at the 12th best team in the NBA, but that's the biggest one that jumps off to me. Like, whoa, holy shit, that's way too high.
Yeah, we might just have been a smidge off on that one. And I see on the other side, I look at the Bucks and I go, how did they only get 1 point? Oh, that's right. They only got one. We only gave them 1 point. We literally ranked their shooting guard as the worst shooting guard.
It was Tony Snell.
Yeah, which, to be fair, they've got better options. They really do. Mm-hmm. Like, they've got a former rookie of the year who, isn't.
But we also think he's going to work better as running the second unit, and also Snell can, I think, shot like 40% from three.
Yeah,
so
he's
he
a
works
3 player, but
better.
You really wanted to put DiVincenzo on that list, too.
Dante DiVincenzo. No, I'm just saying, like, that's one of those things where it adds into it. So that could be a team that their talent actually is better than what we're saying. So they could have been a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Just as easily.
And looking at it, let's just say, who do you think is the most overrated? Who do you think is the most underrated?
I mean, the Suns have to be overrated. They have to be. They were one of the worst teams in the league last year.
Not one of the worst teams.
They didn't even get sunsed. They got their pick. And maybe we're giving them too much credit with the pick. Because where did we put them? We gave them.
Well, we gave T.J. Warren a top 5 6-man.
Right.
DeAndre Ayton was top 15 center. Then Booker was top 10. And then small forward Josh Jackson, I guess, that would be power forward. So that was Trevor Ariza.
Yeah. So, I mean,
that was before the Ryan Anderson trade.
And, yeah, I think they're just overrated. Like, that's one of those things where yes, they've got a bunch of young talent, and then they've got Trevor Ariza as the veteran to lock it down. Him and Tyson Chandler. But, they don't have a fucking point guard.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is we look at who we ranked for.
They're not going to win games that one.
Well, we look who we ranked for their point guard was Brandon Knight, and Brandon Knight's not even going to be a starter on the team he was traded to. He's probably going to be like a 10th man on that Houston Rockets team. So the team, the talent that you took away from, I mean, even lower, you take away the talent from that team, you put them on an actual good team, and they're not even probably going to get
it doesn't move the needle.
20 minutes per game on that team. So
the one thing I will throw out there, too, and this is the whole math thing with it, like you mentioned with the Suns point guard, we had him only 2 spots lower. Even with the math, like if we put that point guard dead last, they still would not. They still would be above the Clippers.
They go negative. You don't have one. You can't give someone a score if they don't have one. They literally forgot to sign a point guard.
Maybe they can get one from the Blazers because they got a ton of them, right?
They should reach out to the Blazers for a deal. Maybe they could soak up a bad contract for one of their future picks or for one of these 18 wings they've got who aren't going to get enough minutes. Work something out. But yeah, no, that's a team where it's we love Devin Booker. I want to love DeAndre Ayton. I want to love their wing depth, but at the same time, they haven't done shit. And putting them above teams who have, I mean, even to an extent like the Bulls being right above them, it's yeah, I want to like you. On paper, that team looks pretty good, but we're putting Jabari at small forward, likely. We've got a guy who's coming off of an injury and Zach LaVine. We've got even Chris Dunn coming off of a smaller injury, but still, we've got so many question marks. I think all the question marks, we trended towards the positive on these rankings. I'll admit that.
And Wendell was our center, and we literally devoted a whole segment to him because he was the only guy that was young on that ranking.
That's true.
Is Wendell Carter Jr. going to come in and automatically be a top 20 center
He's Al Horford,
in the league?
basically. He's going to walk in the league and be Al Horford prime.
Well, we don't know that. So that's the big thing is he could totally just, not be great right away. They start Robin Lopez, stunt his growth.
Player,
and totally screw him over. So, again, it tends to favor youth because we have high expectations for them on what we're going to do. And we also don't know what these young teams will come out and do, again, cohesive-wise. That's why we look at the Jazz last year. I think the Jazz were in our, barely in our top 20 last year. And, again, they played phenomenally together.
17 last year.
Yeah, they played phenomenally together. And, they get the bump because we see what they can do together as a unit. And they're all the way up at, in top 10 this year. So, a big thing with this is, again, we end up favoring youth looking back at it.
Yep.
And now, we look at these young teams like the Bulls, the Suns, even to that extent, the Hawks, who were at 23, and even the Mavericks at 12. You favor those players because you have high expectations, where we think that teams like the Spurs are going to fall off, and we rank them a little bit lower than they should be, even though, again, they're still top 10. Yep. And that's probably the same thing with the Wolves. When we're going to talk about them in the top 10 as well. Young players with a star, they're going to get overrated.
Absolutely. Easily, too. I think the funny one for me is I look at that Heat team and I'm like, it's just typical Heat, It's like they're a bunch of good, not great players, but they're going to get to the playoffs because they've got a genius head coach. They've got a great front office, and they make it work. They've got Goran Dragic out there leading the charge. They're going to have Dwayne Wade coming back again. Like, it's the most Heat thing. They're not world beaters, but they're going to get there.
They are literally Orlando Magic plus. They're in a better city. They have a better team history. They came into the league around the same time.
State,
they have a better history. Yeah, they're in a better city in the same state. And they, went with, 12 fucking starters, but those guys are actually decent. And the Magic just found the worst 12 starters in the goddamn league.
Another team without a point guard.
Huh?
Another team without a point guard in the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, DJ Augustine's their top point guard. So, again, we look at the Heat. I think they're the only team that's fairly ranked at 17. Because they're not a team that's like, they're great, but they're, they're a fine team.
That's the Heat.
Yeah, you could probably take the guys on their bench, put them into our starting lineup, and they'd probably be 17 again.
Yeah.
But that's, again, neither here nor there.
I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, you look at 11 through 20, and there's nothing that really jumps off the table. I don't know what do we talk about in years past about this stuff? I know I'm the host, but, I don't know. I'm tired.
I mean, for me, the biggest thing the thing I look at is the teams that were jumping. And to me, it's, first off, the Lakers. Obviously, you get LeBron, but it's like, are they going to be a team where maybe at the end of the year, we look at them and we're like, okay, maybe they should have been a top 10 team.
Oh, I'm thinking the opposite on you.
I'm saying, maybe they should be a 10.
I'm gonna pull Ricky and cut you off, Ricky.
All right, go ahead.
Did anybody notice where the Thunder were last year?
Like dead last?
3. 3.
Yeah, that's because we were you don't remember that? We were buying in the hype of the Thunder, and then the first week of the season was, holy shit,
Melo
what happened to the Thunder?
Fourth point guard or something like that.
He was now dead last
Melo
in my
was a
rankings.
point guard?
The power forward.
Okay. Yeah. No,
we're buying in the hype heavy. The Wolves were 2 last year. Let me be honest, where it's like,
you were smoking that Wolves pipe.
Just take it with a grain of salt.
Too high.
I mean, for me to answer your question you asked a while ago of who's too high, who's too low, Clippers to me might be too low in this ranking because they could be they're more likely going to be a playoff team over the Suns, and the Bulls will probably be a better team record-wise than the Heat. They are probably a little bit too low. The Mavericks are an easy team to say that they're overranked a little bit, but I mean,
they won 22 games last year.
No, I know. But
they literally intentionally
the thing
admitted it out loud.
The hype of you got to look at Luka. We're kind of medium with, but Carlisle's really high. They add DeAndre Jordan to that team.
People wanted Carlisle higher.
Yeah,
which surprised me.
I was trying to defend him on the coaches thing. He had nothing but success throughout his career.
Sean's a Carlisle guy.
Yeah.
They're probably the easiest answer for too high. But I mean,
I want to get back to your Lakers thing about them possibly getting into the top 10.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree with that at all. And again, we talked about overrating and having high expectations for young players outside of LeBron James, who's an easy number 1. I'm not going to argue that. We look at Lonzo Ball, young player. Brandon Ingram, young player. Kyle Kuzma. I don't think we ranked him though.
He was not ranked because we had Rondo 6-man.
But then again, we look at the young players in this team that we did rank. I feel like most of them were overrated, and it helps that you have LeBron James. I don't think this is a top 10 team in the NBA when it's all said and done.
I mean, Lonzo could have been higher.
I mean, Josh Hart maybe next year could get better. He might take over that starting mantle. No, he might take over the starting mantle though.
Mm-hmm. And there were even, if I'm misremembering our comment section, there were people that even wanted Luke Walton a little bit higher. I thought that he was a better head coach than we had it.
I got a DM saying that Luke Walton's the worst coach in the NBA.
Okay.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. We haven't seen what he's done with talent. Basically, he had a bunch of young kids and he was just wrangling cats.
The reason why I say the Lakers, though, is, and of course, these rankings don't put into record-wise. We've said that. But
Right.
when we look at records-wise, there are only 4 teams in the top 10 that we'll have that I could see maybe having a better record than the Lakers this year. Because my hot take has been Lakers to the Western Conference Finals. And the only way they're going to do that is if they don't meet the Warriors in the second round.
Yeah.
And looking at least last year and just kind of seeing like how valid are our rankings. I mean, we look at the top 10. All of them made the playoffs except for one. And it was the Clippers who missed by like 2 games. Games, not even.
You're talking last year.
Yeah, Warriors, Wolves, Thunder, Celtics, Rockets, Cavs, Spurs, Clippers, Wizards, Raptors. All those teams made the playoff. Then we look at 11. Heat were there. They made the playoffs. 12, Nuggets missed by a game. 76ers were there. At 13, they made the playoffs. Lakers at 14, we overrated them a little bit. 15, we have the Pelicans. Like, the only teams that we really screwed up were the Jazz, Blazers, and Pacers, I think, and Bucks. But also the Bucks.
But
Big thing was that
it's
the
lopsided.
Bucks barely made it into the playoffs, and they have Giannis. And outside of Giannis, they really
That's the
have.
thing. That's the wonderful thing about basketball is, yes, this team might have one great player, but that one great player is so much better and has so much impact on a game that he can drag a team kicking, screaming, a team of average players into the playoffs.
And they also didn't have Bledsoe last year, too. So they
Yeah, it's
added
true,
a guy
at the
who
time of.
adds him up, and they also have a better coach.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Budenholzer.
if we're going to look at last
Weird.
year, the Lakers and the Mavericks aren't that crazy because the Lakers were at 14, like you said. They only rise 1 spot.
By adding
from
LeBron
us and
James,
by
you
adding
go-
That's
LeBron
crazy.
James, they rise 1 spot. And
also-
the Mavericks
so high.
jumped 4 spots by adding Luka Doncic. And we had Luka ranked lower.
Dirk
in
got
that.
ranked higher somehow by hitting age 40.
No, Ricky ranked him higher.
No,
I
but
think
like
he ended
Dirk's
up
overall
ranking-
ranking is higher, I think, than last
No,
time.
I think
so.
it was just in Ricky's.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was screaming about.
Okay. Regardless, though, yeah, the Lakers, we were way too high. And I
Dirk
remember
was 10 last year. He was 14
That's
this year.
insane. I remember having the conversation with you, Sean, about the Lakers being 3 years away from being a playoff team, playoff caliber team, and
They did it.
well, we'll see if they do it.
Yeah.
Yet to be done.
Well,
But
I think they will.
it's one of those things where I look at this I look at that team last year. I'm like, all right, we really like Julius Randle. I guess we really thought they'd be good, and they were all right. They just had injuries and shit get in the way. So
Well, I hate to throw him under the bus again, but also he ranked Lonzo Ball 10th last year in point guards. So that threw off the point guard ranking.
wait, I ranked Monte Ball, the running back from.
No, Lonzo.
Oh, okay.
I had Lonzo
He
in the
ranked
top 10.
Lonzo top 10.
You said Monte.
Did I?
Yeah.
I knew what you meant.
I was
But-
like,
but that's
the
a-
Wisconsin running
Mon-
back?
Why did I say Monty
But
Ball?
that's another
I don't
thing.
know.
Yeah, I had Lonzo at 10,
Christ.
but overall Lonzo was at 17 last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Whereas-
if you put him in a regular ranking, he would have been like 24.
Yeah, it would have been a
That's
little
the point.
lower. Where I mean,
But that would have been that's a 7-point difference.
this year we had Lonzo Ball at 18, so it's not like he changed way too much. I put him at a more reasonable 16, and he still was at 17, 18.
My point
But the
is
point
that
is
the
that
Lakers wouldn't have
changes
been
points
as
for everybody.
high as they were last year if you didn't put Lonzo at 10.
Yeah.
So, and he didn't deserve that
all
ranking
right,
at all.
they would have fell to like 18 instead of 14.
Yeah, which is a little bit more fair. They're at the bottom half. They're not a playoff team. I just look at most of these, and I
The
think
Wizards
that
are an average coach away from being a top 10 team. Literally, just an average coach would get them there.
I mean,
I don't know about that.
they were top 10 last year. We had them at 9 last year.
Yeah.
And we've gotten colder on Scott Brooks.
Yeah, see,
I don't think it
all
really
this changed on the
And
team.
they kind of upgraded their center. I mean,
Yeah, they
Howard's
did.
better than
They
Gortat,
did.
so I mean that's it makes
They
sense.
got better, but yet they dropped in our rankings. That's how things work.
Because Scott Brooks sucks.
He's so
You guys
bad.
finally realized it.
He's so bad. Yeah.
That's not on me. They fell because of
I think it's easier to hate him after another year of losing the playoffs. It's
his
just
face.
Well, it's like, it's not just that.
Just look at his face. He's got a punchable face.
It's what I said in the coaches segment. It's just you look at his time and it's like the only reason you were as good as you were and making it to like conference finals and stuff is because you had KD on your team
had two alphas.
along with Russ and then James Harden at that one point. So it's like
the dynasty that wasn't.
that's basically the only reason you were there is because you had great players with you. If we put you in a different spot or take KD away from you, you don't make the playoffs.
And I don't feel too guilty because I think that it would have been a tie if I did move him up one spot, Scott Brooks, because then it would have been a tie with him and Luke Walton.
Yep.
Because I think Tom Thibodeau is now the worst coach in the NBA with everything that's happening.
This is all
which
GM
makes
work,
me
though.
hate Scott Brooks more. So
He's there because of his GM work, not because of his coaching too.
I've been saying he needs to be fired last year. So I think that again she deservedly takes it. If Ricky can blame Pop for the Kawhi stuff, I can blame Tom Thibodeau for fucking up the Jimmy stuff and bringing in 14 elderly home patients into the fucking Timberwolves locker room.
One wrong argument does not mean that you can validate your wrong argument.
Whatever. But looking at this, which teams are going to be in the playoffs? Which teams have no chance?
I mean, clearly, Bulls playoffs.
Yeah, Bulls are going to be the 8th seed this year. Am I going to be on that train again like I was 2 years ago?
No,
I
there last
probably
year?
won't. No, it was 2 years ago when they made it with Rondo.
Yeah.
That was my year where I said they'd be the 8th seed, and everyone laughed at me.
But I
it's
also
okay. I
think
was
you
proven
said,
right.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think you said that Bulls have a shot at the 8th seed last year.
Oh, I said
Before the
there's
season.
always a shot, but that's when I said it last year. It's more like when Mark goes Super Bowl Super Bears. It wasn't.
But I know when Mark's joking, and I don't know when you're joking.
No, you never do. That's the beauty of it.
No, it's
and the beauty
infuriating. Teams that I do think that will make the playoffs: so Bucks, Lakers, Wizards, Raptors, Thunder, Heat. That's about it. Heat.
No clip. Did you say Clippers?
I wouldn't lock it in.
Okay.
Because they haven't secured Jimmy Butler yet.
Yeah, locking.
If they get Jimmy Butler without giving up Shea, so they give up your proposed package of
Jerome and Toby
and Jerome and a pick.
Do they get?
Are they a playoff
playoff
team this year?
No. Well, I don't even think the Wolves are making it with Jimmy Butler. So I think that already frees up a spot, but that spot's being taken by the Nuggets.
Right.
I think it makes it interesting.
Could the Blazers fall if they don't hit a hot streak?
That's a good point. That's a good one. But also that the Lakers still need to make it in.
There's
So
too many teams in the West.
So I think that the Clippers aren't a for sure lock.
Okay.
Even with Jimmy Butler, I think it's not a for sure thing. Because they also have to gel right away. And that's
I don't think they're a playoff team this year.
So.
But I think they've got enough playoff ready pieces that they could compete.
So Blazers should probably be here, and the Grizzlies should probably be here if we're probably throwing one team, and obviously the Bulls and Suns should probably be out.
Yep.
And Mavericks should be lower.
Think of it this way. If there's anything Cavs fans can take with a little bit of solace, it's that, hey, you know what? The Bulls were last year. Now they're 18. We'll be last this year in the rankings, and then next year they'll be in the top 20.
And in 2016, the Nets were the last team. So you could be the Nets. So congrats. You could be 24 in 2 years from now. And also the Pelicans are 29 in 2016. And the Sixers are 28.